Good not so morning, even in the slightest at all-ish. But hi, welcome into twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads. It's 1 minute past 4, which is 10 a.m.-ish?
Where, Graham?
Somewhere? I mean, we figured it out the other week. I suppose 1 minute past 4 p.m. in the UK is 10 a.m.-ish in America, because we found out that 3 p.m. is exactly 10 a.m. So it's 10 a.m.-ish. It's 11 a.m., which is 10 a.m.-ish in America. Let's go! Timeless! Here he is. Timeless, I do have to say, and I will ask that they be lenient, because you've just thrown down your 17-month sub on the channel, which we massively appreciate. 17 months, Timeless? Literally timeless, because that is fucking madness. God damn. Yeah, our legal team will be in touch, because when I was in your stream this morning, I want to let you know that I did notice that your stream title said chasing circles with coffee, which our legal team has realised is a very striking similarity to chasing crates with mates. So they will definitely be in touch. But 17 months, so I'll ask them to be lenient. Welcome in, Timeless, and everyone else. Welcome into the stream. If you don't know what this is, it's Chasing Circles with Coffee, sponsored by Timeless. Now, do feel free to check out Timeless, by the way. He plays PUBGs and other stuffs. I did have you on while I was setting stuff up, Timeless, actually. I heard you mentioning about schedules and things and so on. Where are you sitting on that at the moment? Because I know you were saying, like, your sleep stuff's been up and down and stuff, and I've seen you've been doing some duo stuff with, like, KP and Pirate Lou and the likes of the last few couple of weeks. What's the schedule looking like? Do feel free to go and follow Timeless, by the way. Go check him out. He's good people. Cease and desist is in the post. Thank you. There is our legal counsel. Mr. Theodore Nort QC.
He's getting away with it.
So if you are new here, my name is Graham. This is Bib. Tito is our legal counsel, and this is Ice Cream Uploads, where we bring you the scoop, the UK's #1 video game podcast, if we do say so ourselves. Over the next hour or so, we're going to bring you the biggest, the best, and the breaking stories from the world of video games. We'll give you our thoughts and impressions on those stories, but we'll hear your thoughts and impressions. Then we'll give you our thoughts and impressions, your thoughts and impressions, your thoughts and impressions, and you get it. You get it. Lots of thoughts and impressions. It's a big old discussion. That's why we need you to get involved. We are live on Twitch, where we go live each and every single weekday at 10 a.m.-ish. It's 5 past 4. It's a bit ish today. But do feel free to get involved, because we are live on Twitch. The live stream is turned into a podcast, a video on YouTube, and an audio podcast on iTunes and Spotify and SoundCloud and Google Play. There is lots of places where nearly 200,000 people, probably over 200,000 people at this point, have watched and listened to our podcast on demand. So please do feel free to get involved. On behalf of those beautiful people, speaking of beautiful people,
ooh,
Uno Baller has just dropped a follow on the channel, Bib. A little bird.
He is a baller.
A little birdie tells me you've been spending the weekend with Uno Baller.
I have. He's a top guy. He's a very, very top guy.
There was very little romancing happening there. Just want to point out, by the way, very little, only modest amounts. But yeah, nice. I did see pictures. Looked like it was a good sesh. Nice.
It was.
We're not going to tell you what that is for anyone that's dropping in. It's work stuff. We'll leave that to the side. But we are going to run through a bunch of stories. Before that, I want to give a shout out to Astro, !Astro in the chat, who have obviously helped us out in the last couple of weeks with a bunch of headsets that we give away. We've given away an A40 to Salty Dog, plus 2 A30 headsets, which will be working their way out now. Shout out as well to GT Omega, who provide the chairs that both me and Bib are sat on. Not that you can see, because I've got a hoodie and stuff on them, and Bibby's... There he is.
This one.
Yeah, limited edition PES League Finals, baby. Let's go.
Limited edition.
I mean, you can't see that, man, because it's covered up and I've got an Ice Cream Upload sticker on it, but you get the idea. If you want any chairs or headsets or some insert nice coin merch, then do feel free to check out by typing their commands in the chat. Or you could just head to Discord, !Discord. You can find all the affiliate links, discounts, and tracking codes that we can give you that can save you some cash and help keep our lights and mics on. But we'll jump into the split screen.
Let's do it.
Mr. Bib.
Yes.
Are you ready to talk video games?
I don't know, Graham, because I accidentally had a bottle of water. I say it was a glass bottle of water that I thought was still, but in turn was actually fizzy. It caught me completely off guard and has destroyed my throat in the last half an hour or so. So I'm going to try my best, essentially.
You can actually hear it a little bit on Bibby's voice now, but for
It's
the
just
last
like ringing in the background.
for the last hour or so, it's like, oh, go on, Phil, oh yeah.
Honestly, it's proper done me in.
So yeah, do feel free to stick around to see Bibby's throat collapse, as well as the rest of the news and stuff like that. All right, Ted Lasso, calm down.
It's not. It's oh God, what's it called? Not Ted Lasso.
I don't
Roy
know.
Kent.
Oh, there you go.
Like Roy Kent.
Yeah. Fucking.
It got there in the end. Got there in the end.
Uno Baller, thank you for the follow, dude. Appreciate that. And getting involved in the chat. Hey. Insanity. Afternoon, fellas. Hope all's well for you. I watched Insanity, unfortunately, for Insanity. I think, was it you, Insanity? I'm pretty sure it was. Was watching 12 Heads. Shout out to 12 Head, by the way. Exclamation mark 12 if anyone wants to listen to some dirty pop. I mean, Funko Pop, should I say, sorry. He did manage to smash his £1,500 target on Saturday/Sunday for his 24-hour stream for the CF Trust. He absolutely smashed it, and he did a fucking exceptional job. 43 plus hours he was awake for. What a machine. But he was playing in Big Ham's Duos tournament. And he was trying to shoot Insanity. So, like, it was pistols only. So pistols are difficult to shoot at the best of times. If anyone's more than, like, 5 centimeters away, it's difficult to hit your shots. And Insanity must have been hit about 1,000 times. Maybe not. Maybe about 4 or 5. None of them by...
Easily.
Yeah, easy. None of them by 12. It was all by... I can't remember who 12 was playing with now. But whoever was on his team was hitting shots. I think it was Gact. Was it Gact? Was it you, Gact? It was you, right? I think it was. Gact wasn't here. I don't know if he still is. So, yeah, Gact hit him, like, a bunch of times. But because of the distance drop-off and so on, Insanity just was like, shit, I've got no weapons. I've got nothing. I've got to just keep running. And they must have chased him for... 3 maps. They chased him from Vikendi across Erangel, straight through Sanok, back through Miramar, and then into the bottom end of Vikendi again. And then 12 just hit him one shot with the deagle on a headshot. It was 12 had basically stopped and squatted. If he didn't hit his shot, Insanity was gone. And he hit his shot. I was like, oh, that poor guy. Fucking Insanity's been running for about half a week, and he finally gets put down. Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, that was me. Ran 300 plus meters only to get one tapped from a deagle to the dome. Oh, painful. That's incredible. I did not realize he was on that long. So he wasn't on that long. So he did a 24-hour stream, but he works like stupidly unsociable hours. I think he starts at about 3 o'clock in the morning. So we did a full work day, getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning, started at 3 o'clock in the morning, finished his work day, then got everything set for the stream, started his stream at 7 o'clock at night, instantly started on the beers, which would have written me off for a 24-hour stream anyway. Had some like 6.6 million Scoville chili chocolate. So what me and Bibby had during our 24-hour session was probably about, on a Scoville scale, maybe about 3. Whereas what 12 Head had was 6.6 million. And all he ate was like a guinea pig sized dropping piece of chocolate, and it just wrote him off. He was like glugging his beer, going to get some ice cream to keep his mouth chill and everything. But that, following the stream all the way through to the other end of the day, plus then wrapping up, it was probably, I imagine, about at least 45 hours awake. At least. Absolute machine.
I don't know how he did it. Like, that is genuinely incredible. I would never have been able to do it. That is definitely not me. We've figured out in the 24-hour stream last time, it might have been the Monster that fucked me up more than anything. I had like 6 cans of Monster. You're not meant to drink that much in 24 hours. And definitely that sauce fucked me up too. But yeah, outrageous.
I played it smart. I was passing my tip on to 12 Ed, like at the end of when I was streaming, I was like, make sure you get some water now. You're in the home stretch. You think, oh, I'll just grab myself a brew. But you've already had the amount of brews that you'd usually have in a 24-hour period, and then some. So I made the switch over to water. After about 12 hours, I was like, that's it, no, I'm on water. And then after a few more hours, I was like, I'll get myself a G Fuel. And then it was back to the waters again and stuff like that. So I was spacing it out, whereas you was just like, hard, core.
Yeah, I got out the gate way too fast, fell over. Big time.
All the 30 chicken nuggets, yeah, that too. Bibby, to be fair, smashed his chicken nuggets super fast as well, so that probably didn't help him. I came back to
was fucking starving.
I came back to my 10 later on, like, oh, this is a nice little snack. Bibby's there like, oh, fucking. Just turned into it.
Mistakes were made, Graham. I hold my hands up.
Well, the good news is we have a 24-hour stream next weekend. And, well, I say we, I mean, it's just Bib. He doesn't know about this yet. Let's go, Bib! Fuck that, by the way. Fuck that. Unless we need to raise money for something. Nope. I'm not doing it. I mean, charity is a great thing, but we're not going to be doing a charitable 24-hour stream. Unless we need to raise money for something specific, we won't be doing that sort of thing. We only did it so that we can afford to get everyone into the studio, give them burgers and stuff, and pay West. You know, West takes an absolute wedge. He makes himself sound like a good for the community guy. Took thousands off us to cook a few burgers on that barbecue.
Outrageously good burgers, I might add.
Honestly, shocking. And also, part of the clause of getting him for that low price of like 20,000 or whatever he charged for it was that he had to be involved in the next Royal Rumble, which obviously, I mean, we all saw how awkward that was. He touched my leg and everything. God.
Oh, dear me.
Anyway, that's enough of that. 48-hour stream. A 48-minute charity stream hype. Let's go! I mean, we can just about manage that, I think. I heard the court is made of real gold too. At least someone's finally catching on. I mean, everyone thought, oh, it's just, I don't know, it's just something that we bought off the internet, some dodgy site, you know, it cost about 48p. Don't be daft, no. Literally, 48 carrots in that coat. Whew, I don't mean the vegetables. All right, settle down. That must have set you back a bit. Also, where's my mother hugging gifted sub? From us?
No, it ain't from me.
Okay, so that's a very aggressive request. Give me a sub now. Settle down, honestly. Have you been on the meal slot ice creamy beers again? God. Anyone doesn't know what that is? Check out the Discord. He's been posted. I used my 250k. Did you?
When? I am looking through now.
Oh, yeah, he did. Gifted sub 12 minutes ago.
Oh, yeah, there it is, yeah.
Do you want to take the first news article while I start out gifting a sub?
I most certainly can, yeah. Well, we'll see how the voice does.
Nice. I appreciate this, Blake. Not only have you watched long enough to get 250 sprinkles, but you've bought yourself a gifted sub with it, and you've done it on a day when Bibby's throat is weak, and we're relying on him to read it. The articles that we're going to go through, by the way, we're going to start off talking about E3. Is it still on, despite what Ubisoft suggested? ? If you want to know what that means, well, don't worry. Bibby's sexy voice is going to take you through it. We're then going to talk about Sega smashing it. Sonic Frontiers has greatly exceeded what Sega expected to sell, which is good news because Sega is also giving its employees a 30% pay rise. All employees are getting their wage put up by a third. God damn. AEW Fight Forever earlier let you make the ring a murder. AEW Fight Forever earlier. Oh, there we go. Let you.
Yeah, I think they fucked up the title on that.
Okay.
I tried reading it this morning. It wasn't the best.
Something about AEW will follow, and then we'll talk about PUBG to finish up. Let's go! For now, though, I will throw the article up on screen in just a second before I pass it over to Bibby. And it's on screen now, so feel free to take it away, Bibby.
Perfecto. Here we go. So, written on VG 24/7 by Kuhnke. I think I've absolutely nailed that. E3 is still on, despite what Ubisoft have suggested. A report emerged last month claiming that neither Xbox, Nintendo, or PlayStation will be attending the event. And as part of Ubisoft's recent investor call, CEO Yves Guillemot, I've nailed that. I have nailed that. Did confirm that the company would be at E3, but seemingly entirely confident that the event will be taking place. Last year, the ESA show and the new owner of E3, Reed Pop, confirmed that E3 would be returning as an in-person show in 2023, to which everyone said, yeah, sure, considering that the event was cancelled in 2022. It's still technically on track to take place, but as reported by IGN, when asked about if Ubisoft would be attending the event during the company's quarter 3 2022 to 2023 investors call, Guillemot made it seem like at the very least he isn't entirely if the event will happen at all. If E3 happens, we'll be there, and we'll have a lot of things to show, said the CEO, which will just be an awkward way of phrasing things, or could be a sign of lack of confidence in the event itself. ReedPop president Lance Festerman provided IGN with a statement reiterating that E3 is still planned to take place, saying that E3 is at full speed ahead, and we are pleased with the progress and engagement from the community. As we have confirmed, exhibitors, we are eager to share more details, get cemented, and partnerships ready their own detailed plans. In other parts of the ReedPop gaming portfolio, we rarely release participants until close to the event, but we will now have to readjust our style to the way that E3 as we can. Last month, IGN reported that the big three, i.e., Xbox, Nintendo, and Sony, won't actually have a presence at E3 2023. For the first time, that all three of them would not be there. PlayStation has been at the event since 2019, so no surprise there. And considering recent whisperings of Nintendo not having much to show due to the Switch being at the end of its life cycle, is not appearing isn't massively shocking either. You see, right, I've got something to say about that in a minute. I guess we'll have to wait and see. At least we can guarantee Jeff Keighley will be putting out conveniently timed tweets for Summer Games Fest whenever news about E3 does come out.
that end paragraph is amazing. At least we can guarantee Jeff Keighley will be putting out conveniently timed tweet for Summer Games Fest whenever E3 does. Yeah, exactly. Nice. Anyway, babe.
Yes.
This is usually where I finish reading the article and I ask you your thoughts, but you finished reading the article. What did you think from Oisin, Kuhnke at VG247? Shout out, nice, let's go.
So towards the end of the article, we noticed, I noticed and mentioned that Nintendo won't be having a show there due to the Switch being at the end of its life cycle, which I think is quite a balmy thing to be able to say. It's common knowledge that Nintendo Switch has been around for 7 years now. It does feel like it's getting towards the end of the life cycle, but however, they still have some of the biggest games coming out for that console, including a brand new Legend of Zelda game. Like, unless they're going to announce something between now and the launch of the new Tears of Kingdom Legend of Zelda game, this is still the place that you're going to be playing that game. You're not going to play it on your PC, your PS4, your PS5, your Xbox Series S and X. None of those are going to have it. It's just Nintendo. So the fact that they're mentioning it is part of its towards the end of its life cycle, I don't believe that yet. Like, I still think that this console can go on for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
They are being hamstrung by the fact that it doesn't quite have the power of next gen consoles. But I mean, even when the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One was out, it still wasn't competing with those graphically. It was like playing an Xbox 360 or a PS3 game. So in terms of graphics, it's never real. They've got really pretty games, but they've not really had the comparison to what you could be getting from those consoles. So I still think they've got a lot of life in these. I wouldn't be advertising that this is the end of a console cycle just yet. I still think there is a lot. I think there's still a couple of million that could get sold of this console.
I feel like that is a silly statement. I do. Silly is probably not the right word, but it is kind of almost a misleading statement without the clarification that comes with it or should come with it. They're not going to be there because, end of the life cycle. They've not got much to show. I think that's presumptuous. It's end of the life cycle, so they've not got much to show. Now, they might not have much to show because they're between announcements. PlayStation has had that mid-life cycle, early life cycle, and late life cycle, just like Xbox have. So because they've not got anything to show, doesn't necessarily mean that they're at the end of the life cycle. We assume they're at the end of the life cycle because it's been out for longer than a normal console life cycle. So we'll go, there's got to be a Switch 2, Switch Pro, something like that in the line. But then that's surely, if we're on the verge of getting an announcement about Switch Pro, that means there's not a lack of announcements. That's kind of counterintuitive. Surely there would be some form of conference where we get a big announcement. And if you are going to do that, an E3 window, even though Nintendo doesn't go to E3, is the perfect place to do that. So, or perfect time. As we were talking about before we went live, Asgard is a people, not a place. E3 is a people, not a place. Even though Nintendo isn't at E3, they'll be at E3 with their Direct that's conveniently timed. And even though Xbox is in the building across the road, they are at E3. And even though Summer Game Fest isn't part of E3, it's a competitor, it's still pretty much at E3 because it's the same city at the same sort of time frame and so on. So
it just comes across a little petty, doesn't it? That's what it feels like. It's just, well, they're not here. The reason that we need to give a reason as to why they're not going to be here. Oh, it must be because they're towards the end of the life cycle. They might just think it's a bit shit. And they don't want to actually announce anything there. Their Nintendo showcases are, by and large, the best showcases that are out there. I mean, PlayStation take notes from how Nintendo do theirs.
I mean, they started it. They started. I mean, if you call it a rot, it's not a rot. The rot of E3, I suppose, by bringing the direct concept. They thought, you know what? And you go back a generation when they started to leave E3 behind. Nintendo was struggling. The Wii U wasn't great. The Switch was a weird concept that clearly was definitely gonna fail. What? Well, that's what people were saying. So spending stupid amounts of money to go to E3 is folly. It's folly. It's stupid to do that. To do that when you can just do your own pre-recorded, fully scripted, absolutely PR'd to the tits, one-way conversation. There's no danger of someone asking a question and you giving a slightly incorrect answer that could be misinterpreted or any of that sort of stuff. I mean, ironically, they still managed to balls up their PR stuff. We'll leave that to the side. So Nintendo aren't gonna be there because they march to the beat of their own drum. And when you've got what's probably gonna be the biggest game of the year in Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom or whatever it was called, on the way, you don't need to do anything else. Like, maybe Rockstar is not going to be there because, they've got no announcements. Rockstar are going to be there because they think, our announcement is big enough to do whatever we want whenever we put it out. The same thing with Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. That is big enough to have its own E3. And, well, didn't that happen? Wasn't there, didn't Nintendo have a full Zelda Breath of the Wild conference at E3? Wasn't like
was it not part of the treehouse?
Yeah, but I say conference. I mean direct kind of thing. But didn't they have a full show dedicated just to Breath of the Wild at launch? I'm pretty sure that was a thing. I could be wrong. If anyone remembers, do feel free to correct me or confirm.
I vaguely remember them having quite a big treehouse about it.
Yeah, same.
Probably getting mixed with something else.
I mean, maybe it was whether it was a direct or a treehouse or a live conference. There was a big piece of content that was just for that. Because they didn't think, we've got to stick it in another conference. We've got to put it alongside some Master Chief and whatever. They was like, fuck it, we will do our own thing when we want, and we will talk just about our own thing. Now Zelda is the biggest thing that they've ever had. Yeah. And they've got another one. Fucking just buy E3 and change the Zelda ZE3LDA. There you go. Just that's what we'll call it this year. I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo just decide to go big dick swinging. I mean, they probably won't because they don't like to spend that much. But still, the point is the same. Zelda and Nintendo can do what they want. So them not being there isn't because they're at end of generation. They've not got all to talk about. They've actually got something massive to talk about. But you can't really tell where Nintendo is at based on that.
Well, they've earned the right to do that, haven't they? Let's be honest. Like, the IPs that they've got, they're not bigger than gaming, but arguably, when you're talking about video game history and what we have got going forward, you're looking at Mario, you're looking at Sonic, you're looking at Zelda, you're looking at Tomb Raider. It might have fallen off, but they are like the godfathers of what video games are. So yeah, they are technically gaming when it comes down to stuff like that. When everything gets boiled down, they're the things that people are going to remember. And I'm not just saying that based off of me being a 32-year-old bloke. I'm fairly certain that whenever Sega start to remarket their stuff again, like Sonic is back in the news again because of Frontiers, like. It's got staying power. There is always people talking about Super Mario 64, but there might be a new Odyssey 2 coming out. Do you know, it's got staying power because they are technically bigger than gaming.
I mean, just looking at the way it was phrased in this article, maybe they're not being as it sounded dismissive to me, but maybe not. Maybe the way I'd interpret it. So recent whisperings of Nintendo not having much to show due to the Switch being at the end of its life cycle. It not appearing isn't massively shocking either. I didn't really catch that bit at the end. So I suppose they are saying, maybe they're not there because, they've got nothing to show, or maybe maybe not. which, if that is the case, then yeah, fair enough. So David has put, if the leak that was reported in that article I posted a few months back about them buying in components for the next console is right, they're supposedly aiming for Q4 2023 or Q2 to Q2 2024, which wouldn't surprise me, but that is also a flip of a coin, heads or tails. If you were going to pick any point in time, you would pick that full half a year. Q4 in Christmas period to early summer, basically, is when all consoles tend to come out, unless they've missed a window, like a PS3 or whatever, and it's come out in the February, March. Oh no, I suppose that's still in that same window. You're basically not going to release a console from June to August. It usually is. Usually it's around that, and that's kind of like a massive window in which it could sit. So, yeah, with everything considered, probably, possibly. I don't really feel like that's a good. That's like saying space is big. Pretty. I mean, I've not been there, but I'm gonna. You take my word.
Good things.
Yeah, space is definitely. There is lots of it. I mean, the name kind of gives it away. What do you expect from space? It's not like it's going to be crammed again. So, yeah, I mean, it's a leak. Is it really a leak? It's like when you go to those like fortune tellers that tell you fortune because they pick generic stuff that sounds like it might be remotely right. I would say that a Nintendo Switch. I'd have said 2021, 2022 would have been a stretch. 2023 most likely, probably 2024. Obviously, Ads was saying, a bit of a meme from his side now on the channel. Switch Pro confirmed. He's been saying that for a few years. But for me, they are aiming for a good day. A lot of people were saying earlier, because of the 7-year life cycle that video games generally sit within in terms of generational upgrades. But Nintendo are a different beast, and the Switch, I feel like they just want to get that to be the number one console of sales of all time. So for me, I feel like part of that's fueling it as well. Let's stick it out just so we can smash sales and beat the PS2 or whatever it was that sits at number one. Let's go.
The problem they've got is if they contemplate releasing a new version of the Switch, I think it's going to cannibalize, unless they end up bringing out another. Well, we know Nintendo love to add SKUs to their already popular mainstay product. Like the Game Boy Color ended up selling stupid amounts because they just brought out different variants with different additional things with backlight screens or whatever. Same with Tetris, best selling game of all time, or in the top 5 selling games of all time, because it was bundled up with the Game Boy. They love to add SKUs like that. So unless they end up bringing out a new SKU with improved battery life, better screen, a little bit more power in there, and then add it to the Switch part, they're only going to cannibalize the sales if they end up bringing out a Switch 2 or whatever it is that they're going to unconventional Japanese name that end up coming out with the new console. Like,
do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised.
You never second guess a Nintendo product.
I wouldn't be surprised if they call it a Switch, but with 2 eyes, so it says "Wii" in the middle, just to confuse the fuck out of everyone else. They've looked at Xbox, going Xbox One X, Series X, Box, Series Box, One X, Series Box, SX, Box S, X, and they've gone, why don't we just call it a Switch? But to make it easy for mums and dads going to buy a console, let's call it a Switch. Oh, Switch.
I think you're bang on with that.
There you go.
I think you are bang on with that.
Not only do you have a Switch and a Wii combined, but you also get the stupid confusion that seems to be just there for consoles these days. Switch. Have you got a Switch? That's how you have to pronounce it as well. Like Jim from American Pie, you have to call it Switch. Nice.
Switch. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, jumping back into the article, E3 is still on despite what Ubisoft suggested. I feel like Oisin, Kuhnke and the team at VG247 have done their best to make clickbaiting out of this article in terms of which, I mean, fair dues, people got to eat, so you do what you need to be done. But Nintendo not being there because of end of life cycle or whatever, like they've said, it's not a shock that Nintendo aren't going to be there. It just is what it is. Xbox and Sony, it is what it is. Just like EA not being there is what it is. The downside is Bethesda's not going to be there because that's part of Xbox. So suddenly E3 does start to look a little bit weaker. But this quote that they got from Yves Guillemot from Ubisoft. It says, quote, if E3 happens, we will be there and we will have lots of things to show. That doesn't sound like a negative, like a, ooh, it's shit, it's very unlikely. So that's the quote. It said the CEO, which could just be an awkward way of phrasing things, or could be a sign of a lack of confidence in the event. I mean, it didn't give me a sign of a lack of confidence in the event. It did give me a sign that there wasn't 100% confidence. Doesn't mean there's a lack of confidence, because he's saying that they are planning to be there and show off cool things. You wouldn't be willing to spend the money that is required to exhibit at E3 if you had a lack of confidence in it. You'd be like, oh, it's a shitload of time and planning and getting vertical slices of games that we can demonstrate and sorting out PR and paying for flights and all of the other costs and stuff like that. You'd be like, do you know what? If E3 happens, we'd like to be there, but I'm not pretty... there's none of that sort of stuff. He's saying we will have lots of things to show. Great. So it's got to be a big year, and if it is a big year, you'll be smashing it at a big event. Also, English isn't his first language, so I think he's done pretty good there. So yes, nice clickbaity. I love to see it.
Is that what you're saying? Are you saying that I'm duping our audience with the clickbait titles, Graham?
No, I mean, I'm saying Oisin Kuhnke at VG247 has clickbaited the audience with clickbait titles. I'm saying you haven't done that. You've clickbait, which is completely different. They use clickbait, we use clickbib. So yeah,
I agree.
Hashtag clickbait. Exclamation mark clickbait.
Clickbait. I can sleep better tonight now.
Nice. I mean, I need to set one of these up. Someone mentioned this the other day. I think it was on 12 stream or something. Someone was talking about, has anyone else been fucking caught by Ice Cream Uploads' go live message of Ice Cream Uploads has tagged you in their stream? I says, well, what you needed to do is tell them to come into chat and type exclamation mark bait. We tagged you just so you can see this. Thanks for dropping in. Hey.
Fantastic.
We need one of them, but exclamation mark clickbib. So when people go, what the fuck? That article isn't even anything remotely like it suggests. It's just clickbib. We got a job to do. You've got news to be heard. You want to hear stuff when we want to say stuff. It's two sides of the same ugly coin. It just is what it is. Next up, though, which is not an ugly coin. It's actually a pretty coin, this one. Obviously, we were talking about Nintendo at length there. Mario gets all of the column inches, but anyone who is a true gamer, if you ignore all of the statistical, financial, and other forms of emotional empirical evidence, would know that Sonic is much, much better than Mario. Fact. Okay, before anyone has time to counter that, let's jump into the article. Chris Scullion at VGC says, Sega says Sonic Frontiers sales greatly exceeded its expectations. Somewhere I can hear Luke just punching things after me saying that.
Absolutely, yeah. He just ripped his shelf off the wall.
I thought you said shell. What, like a red shell? is it throwing it?
You'll be getting that. You'll be getting that at some point this week.
The company says player feedback has been positive despite a lower than expected Metacritic score. I didn't expect that Metacritic to be higher. I think the Metacritic score is kind of what you'd expect for a passionate fan base, but we'll come on to that as it is anyway. So Sega has stated that sales of Sonic Frontiers have exceeded its expectations at this stage. In a Q&A with investors last week, Sega Sammy Holdings okay, someone's had a nightmare there. I assume that's going to say Sammy Holdings, the Sega executive vice president. What? Oh no, maybe I fucked it up. Okay, let me start again. Get a burp out of the way as well. Nice. Is Sega referred to as Sega Sammy Holdings? Is that the full name of Sega? If that is, I've just learned something today.
I've never heard that ever.
Do you know what?
It must be.
If it's not, then someone's had a mare here, and if it is, then we've just learned something together on stream, which is the beauty of the podcast. Oh, okay. I'm gonna wait. Sega Sammy Holdings. I thought Sammy Holdings was a person.
Sega Sammy Holding. Sega Sammy Holding Incorporated is a Japanese global company formed from the merger of Sega and Sammy Corporation in 2004.
Wow, there you go. I did not know. There you go. You learn something new every day. This is where David will type in chat now as if he knew all along when he's just found it. Just found it on Wikipedia, 100%. Anyway, Sammy Holdings isn't a person, but a company. And the executive vice president of that is Makoto Takahashi. But in the QA last week, that person said, And the IR/SR general manager Nobuaki Yoshi stated that despite the game's Metacritic score being lower than it had hoped, the game has sold better than it expected. At the time of publishing, the game has met scores between 69 and 75 across its target platforms. During the Q&A, one investor noted that the average price of Sonic Frontiers hasn't dropped much since it was released and asked what the company's sales strategy was for the game going forwards. Quote, in terms of selling price, we temporarily held a sale on Black Friday as per our initial strategy, but have since returned to the previous price and have been able to achieve results so far while maintaining the price level to a certain extent, came the reply. The number of units sold greatly exceeded the full year plan at the beginning of the fiscal year, and we recognise that this is a title that we will continue to sell over the long term based on our sales strategies such as pricing, promotions, and the development of free DLC. When asked to evaluate the quality of Sonic Frontiers based on critic and player reaction, one exec replied, although it is true that the Metascore was slightly lower than expected, we believe that we were able to release a title that has been well received by many people around the world thanks to the extremely high ratings from users. We plan to release the recently announced DLC sequentially, and we believe that we can continue to build up repeat sales. In addition, starting with Sonic Prime, which started on Netflix in December, we plan to further expand the Sonic IP in the future, such as the third movie and merchandising. And we'll stop there. Sonic Frontiers. Despite lots of... How can I put it? I want to say negative milling. It's like the rumour mill, but with negativity. It wasn't even that there was anything particularly bad about Sonic Frontiers. Just there was a lot of enforced negativity around it at launch. And I've seen this game in person at Gamescom, and there was another event that I saw it. I can't remember which one. And it looked fucking great. It looked like what I'm getting from playing through Hogwarts Legacy. That open world RPG-ish, realistic, not just super bright Green Hill Zone sort of graphics, but with Sonic the Hedgehog in it. It looked fucking ace. And I saw a lot of negative stuff about it. Things like having platforms floating in midair and so on. It's still a Sonic game. You are playing as a big, bright blue hedgehog that can run a bajillion miles an hour. So you let some things go when you're playing games like that. It's just you. But for me, it looked great, and I want to play Sonic Frontiers. I genuinely do. Whether I ever do or not is something different, but I want to play it. I really want to play it, which that alone is something that's high for me. Whether the game obviously delivers throughout, it is what it is. But there's also a lot of people that just want 2D platform Sonic the Hedgehog games, which is nothing wrong with that. But I feel like bringing that to the table to mark down a different concept, you're bringing your prejudices into a rating system then. And I don't feel that's ever acceptable. If it's not the kind of Sonic game you want, that's fine. But don't judge it on what you want it to be. Judge it on what it is. And from what I can see, the game is great. And if the Metacritic score is fair for what it is, then fair enough. If it isn't, then that's a bit of a shame. But if it isn't, and it's still selling exceptionally well, then that's great to hear. GG's Sonic. Thoughts, babe?
Yeah, I fully agree. An open world Sonic game isn't something that, I don't know, it just didn't resonate with me. I'm definitely in the camp of I want more side-scrolling Sonic games. That's what I believe Sonic to be. I understand there needs to be some sort of evolution. If Mario was still a 2D side-scrolling game, we never would have got the likes of Super Mario 64, Odyssey, and all of the other games that have come along with that. But I think it was a very difficult sell, especially in the lead up to it. I think they I think they may have reset their expectations on that based off of what people were saying on the lead up to the game. I think they may have thought, okay, I think this is going to do amazingly. I think we're going to be able to sell games 2 or 3 times more than we originally thought. And then all the negativity started swirling around about 2 months before the game came out. And I don't know whether or not they reset their expectations, their KPIs, their shareholders, whether or not they've let them know, saying, look, it doesn't look like we're probably going to reach as many targets as we thought we was going to do. And then lo and behold, the game comes out and it holds up extremely well. Now, saying that, there is a lot of people I know that are super Sonic nerds that haven't really finished the game because they thought it was the same. Samey same. After like 4 or 5 hours, you feel like you've done everything there is to do. It's just the same thing over and over again. So that could be something that they may need to look at if they're going to do an open world Sonic game again, because from what we saw leading up to the game's launch, it looked like it was kind of a Breath of the Wild clone with just railings in the air for Sonic to be able to grind on. But yeah, it looks like an okay game. From my perspective, again, it's not something that I'll be desperate to play. However, if Sega was to release a trailer today with a new Sonic Mania 2, boy, would I be all over that. That would get me hyped straight off the bat, no questions asked. But that's the franchise that I grew up with. That's the platforming games that I absolutely adore. So yeah, I think it all comes down to personal preference, and I do think that there was kind of a hit squad that was enabled in the lead up to launch. But if they're happy, then you can pretty much guarantee that there's going to be a second one on the horizon.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. And I hope, I mean, the general consensus from what I did hear is that there is a little bit of that repetition in it. It does lack a little bit of the, like, Breath of the Wild came out and just delivered consistently all the way through. Whereas this doesn't quite do that. But if it gives you a precedent, if it gives you a jumping off point, okay, take that forward. Get the big storytellers to deliver something that hits consistently. And then we get Sonic Frontiers 2. Everyone's happy. Nice. Keep making your 2D side-scrollers as well. I mean, if you got a 3D open-world RPG-ish game, which is more mainstream than side-scrollers, that will help with the exposure of Sonic the Hedgehog. Plus a film, that will help with the exposure of Sonic the Hedgehog. Plus Sonic Prime on Netflix. That will only ever help the 2D side-scrolling perception and integration as well. So if you are just a 2D side-scroller, then embrace it all. Love what Sonic can bring to the world, and we can get so much of it. Sonic is akin to Pikachu, and look what happens if you just embrace what's there. Even though it might not be what you want, Pokemon Snap or all the other different forms of Pokemon stuff, they all feed. It's like one hand takes, one hand gives kind of thing. So, now speaking of taking, that's what I did. The piss a little bit, because I wrote Sonic Frontiers greatly exceeded expectations, but because that's lots of long words, it didn't fit in the discussing now. So I tried to squash it down. Anyone that was watching the stream closely would have seen it said Sonic Frontiers is greatly exceeded expectations, and then I changed it to expects with a dot, which just didn't look right, so I changed it to expectans, which didn't look right, so expectatans, which didn't look right again, so I just put Sonic Frontiers is actually decent lol in the discussing now. So there you go, nice.
Did that one fit?
Yeah, that fit. There's loads of space after that.
Oh, we're in there, aren't we?
So Sonic Frontiers is actually decent lol. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. No, it has sold very well. Sega are very happy with it. Hopefully it does lead to a lot more. But if it doesn't, it looks like it's greasing the palms of people within Sega, and we're not just talking the greedy corporate higher-ups either, because that's usually the case. If people are getting paid in video games, quite often you hear it's the big dogs. But no, it seems like it's the actual workers this time. Sean Murray at The Gamer has the article that says Sega says it will give all employees a 30% pay rise. Sega says the raise is to, quote, create a more comfortable work environment, end quote, for employees and to, quote, strengthen its global competitiveness, end quote. So Sega has announced a substantial raise for its salaried employees. Starting later this summer, Sega will raise the base salary of all existing employees by an average of 30%. I'm going to stop for just a second. We'll read the rest of the article, but just at that bit, that is phenomenal. Imagine you're living, like we all are, in a cost of living crisis, and they just go, for everything you do, we're going to give you an extra 1/3 on top of your salary starting now. Go. That's badass. Yeah. Anyway. Sega said, quote, it will initiate revision to its compensation system to invest in human resources in order to further stabilize employee income and create a more comfortable working environment, as well as to further strengthen its global competitiveness, end quote. This will be done by raising the base salary of all employees, as well as incorporating some of the annual bonus incentives into base salaries. The initial weekly salary of hired new graduates will rise from... and I'll do it in the dollars version rather than the yen, because yen would be completely lost on me. But so the initial weekly salary of a hired new graduate will rise from $1,650 to $2,230. Sega estimates that the average increase in total annual pay, including bonuses, will be around 15%. Quotes. We are working to reform our various personnel systems so that employees can maximize their respective potential in a comfortable working environment, wrote Sega in a press release. Quote, we will continue our efforts to realize a system that allows our employees to grow while realizing diverse work styles and to provide further experiences that move the heart globally. Sega is a little late to the party when it comes to employee raises. Bandai Namco, Capcom, and Koei Tecmo all announced similar raises last spring, while Nintendo announced a 10% pay rise earlier this month. Sega's raise is likely to remain competitive among Japanese game developers. Okay, so a little bit of a kind of a kick at the end. So there's Bandai Namco, Capcom, Koei Tecmo, all operating in the same space physically and digitally. All did similar sort of things last spring. Nintendo and Sega, though, the biggest dogs in that fight, arguably. I mean, you could say Capcom, Sega are probably close. Nintendo is the bigger one, but whatever. They have now thrown down, and employees will be getting, on average, 15%, but a lot of them 30% wage rises. Late to the party, still good, right, though? Thoughts, babe?
Yeah, of course it is. Don't matter if you're late to the party as long as you get there. So the fact that they have people there that would have just been going about their everyday business, whether or not this has got something to do with with their recent successes, a la Sonic Frontiers, I have no idea. But pay rise nonetheless. These guys are all absolutely buzzing their tits off. So fair play to them. Have clearly earned it right across the board throughout the entire company, because they wouldn't just do this company wide for no reason. So they've definitely earned it. Fair play to them. Congratulations to Sega for actually looking after the staff. It's nice in this day and age when you see a video game company actually caring about the staff, because there's been so much shit that we've been reporting on for the last 4 years. It's nice to actually see people giving a shit about their employees.
Just adding the title. Sega giving employees a 30% pay rise. Is that going to fit? We'll see. We'll see. I'm predicting no. Oh, fuck it. You know, it's close enough. I'm not going to... It's fine. It's fine. I'm happy to see this. It is late to the party, in essence, but it's not. It's not. Just because someone else has had the ability to give their teams pay rises doesn't necessarily mean that you have to. Every company is different. Every company is releasing different games on different schedules in different regions for different users. They will have different shareholder setups and so on. So Bandai Namco, Capcom, and Koei, great. It was great that they could do what they did. Sega have still got there and got there within a year. It was in spring last year. We're only in February this year, and they've already done that. So it's less than a year later, they've already managed to do that. And this is a big company that also had some releases, like Sonic Frontiers was in development for years. So they've had to put that out of the gate. Imagine if they went, yeah, everyone gets a 30% wage rise, boom. Sonic Frontiers comes out, absolutely bombs, is a developmental clusterfuck. They have to get rid of teams left, right, and centre, which is a key thing. I stopped reading at that point in the article, but if I'd carried on going, would have got to a bit about North American corporations in comparison. Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, Google, Twitter, GameStop, all announcing mass layoffs. And Microsoft have been getting rid of people at 343 Industries, Halo, and all sorts of other things like that. Multiple disciplines all being affected. So there is no negative in this for me. Yes, we would all like more money sooner. But do you know what? Just making sure that people get the money that they need is more important. If it's next week, fine. If it's now, better. But if it's not, it's next week. If it doesn't come next week, or what if we rush it out last week and it fucks up, and then people lose all of their salary this week? They took their time, they did it properly, and they have released a massive wage rise across the entire business. So GG's to Sega. And even if it is to benefit themselves, it is a business. Even if it is to strengthen its global competitiveness, which could just mean we want to make our staff happy, because happier staff are more creative that make better games. Or it could just be, okay, if we're giving people 10 quid where someone else is giving people 15 to 20 quid, then, you know, you're going to choose the people that give you more money. So we're making ourselves competitive financially for people. Whatever it is, people benefit for it at the end of the day, as well as Sega as a business will benefit because they'll get better staff retention, they'll hire better people and so on. It's good. It's basic, simple economics. We don't need to break it down any more than that. It's a good move. People are getting more cash. Nice.
Nice.
Nice. Do you know what we do need to break down for you, though? This title, because we can't figure it out. Can't figure it out. VASPAAN DASTOOR at the Gamer says, AEW Fight Forever earlier let you make the ring a murder scene, says Kenny Omega.
Facts. Was he pissed when he wrote that?
So yeah, there you go. However, he's unsure how much has been cut back after the ESRB rating. Oh, so the gist of that then is basically saying it's a rough and ready brawler. It's a bit R-rated, is what we're going. So it's like it's the R-rated superstar, but in wrestling game format and not under contract with the WWE because you know it's different game. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. So basically, it's a bit gory. Not this gory, because this would be Dead Space. That's a completely different game. But you know what I'm saying? Nice. Okay. If you're a vintage wrestling fan, you probably remember one man who could take any punishment dished out of him, be it being tossed from the top of a Hell in a Cell match or receiving a pedigree right onto a bunch of thumbtacks. Mick Foley, aka Mankind, knew how to make a bloody mess of himself for the fans' entertainment. Of course, times have changed, and the likes of WWE and AEW aren't allowed to show as much blood and violence on screen. However, in an attempt to reach a wider audience, THQ Nordic was hoping to receive a T for teen rating by the ESRB for AEW Fight Forever, which it did, but only after a bit of back and forth. AEW star Kenny Omega spoke about the reasons for the delay in rating and launch date on the Swerve City podcast, thanks VGC. Firstly, he mentioned that the game's content had to be scaled back in order to attain the desired T rating. Quote, I'm not sure how much we had to scale it back, but man, I loved it, he said. You could make the ring look like a murder scene if you wanted to. I hope there's still some way to get a semblance of that. I hope we haven't dumbed it down too much. However, if we were to be pedantic, this trailer released 3 months ago appears to have way more blood and gore than this one released only about a day ago. In fact, the more recent trailer tries to mirror a real match between Adam Page and Bryan Danielson, but the actual match had way more blood than the video game one. Of course, this is only based on two separate trailers, so it isn't hard evidence of the blood and gore being scaled back. Still, it hardly looks like a murder scene that Omega mentioned. We'll only be able to confirm that when the game finally releases. But that's the only rating. But that's only the rating. The release date was pushed back for another reason as well, namely the inclusion of certain wrestlers whose future with AEW may be in doubt. In November last year, we reported that CM Punk, who was predominant cover star until then, was removed from the cover. This was after Punk went off script during an AEW promo and berated the company as well as his fellow wrestlers. This resulted in a real-life backstage confrontation, leading to Punk being stripped of his AEW World Championship title and getting indefinitely suspended from the production. Quote, it does suck that the rating held us back a little because we really wanted to get it out. The longer time goes by, this finished product that we have is going to be a little dated, continued Omega. A lot of the same people are going to be there and are there, but some aren't, and you're going to wonder why. Someone I've seen on my TV for a week, why he isn't he there? End quote. Nice. So it's gory as fuck, but not as gory as it could have been, and it's out soon, but not as soon as it could have been. Thoughts, Bib?
Yeah, the thing is, like, with the wrestling game, there's two ways of going with it. You can either go through simulation or you can go through arcade. You can't really do both, and if you do, it has to be a good game. And from what I'm seeing, it looks a lot more arcade than it does realistic. That's just going from the trailers that we've seen previously, or screenshots. So I'm interested to see what this ends up looking like. I understand from their standpoint that they don't want to have like a 15 or an 18 age range on this because it just means that it won't be advertised to kids, and that is their target audience. It's not the Attitude Era anymore; it's the PG era. So I know that's going for the WWE and not going for AEW. I know they're trying to move away from what WWE are doing, but ultimately, you have to do what your competitors are doing, just do it in a different way. And I don't believe that they have that Attitude Era-esque. We're going to show blood. We're going to show chair shots. We're going to show people falling from the top of a Hell in a Cell. Like that stuff very rarely gets seen now unless it's on pay-per-view. So I understand that they want to try and avoid these age ratings. But the ring looking like a bloodbath, I don't think they wanted to go for something like Mortal Kombat or Thrill Kill. Like that felt like
Fatality.
a very odd thing to be able to say. Yeah, like you're not going to be ripping someone's spine out and stuff like that. So it's a very weird phrase that they ended up going with in the first place, and it does feel like a small backpedal. But Yeah, ultimately they are a business. We've been mentioning that the entire time of this podcast. They want to be able to sell as many as they can, and if they have an age range that they have to avoid, then they will do that. They'll remove the blood. They'll remove some of the aspects that might be classed as too violent, despite having video games and media crammed into kids' faces. That, like the things on TikTok, there's things on there that you probably don't want your 12-year-old to see, but they're going to be seeing it. It's difficult to avoid stuff like that nowadays.
Yeah, it's the interesting thing for the article, though, for me, was... yeah, he's probably hyperbolized it by going, you can make it look like a bloodbath. He's probably just hyping it up. I mean, he is in the game, and he's paid by AEW, so has a vested interest in this product being successful. So he's making it sound badass. What he's saying is that they've had to strip it back from what it was, so it's less gory, but it's still gory enough. Is what he's saying. That's what people want to hear. The interesting thing from the way this article's written, though, is it's almost blaming AEW for having to do the balance between mass exposure and gory content. I mean, films and media and stream TV services and stuff like that can make really gory things and put it on an age rating because it's just more accessible. Let's be honest. If there is a booby-filled episode of Game of Thrones that is 18 plus or whatever, maybe you see Tyrion Lannister's wanger, not Tyrion Lannister. Who's the
You're asking the wrong person.
Oh yeah. There's one of the like the Starks that's like a Greyjoy or something. Anyway, you see his wanger in an episode, and I remember it made the news because he was like, "Oh, it was my stunt double. It wasn't even mine," or something like that. Anyway, you see penises, you see boobies, you see people being decapitated and all this sort of stuff on HBO. You see all that stuff all the time. But HBO doesn't really care because people are going to watch that shit anyway because it's just supremely accessible. Video games are a little bit less accessible than that. I mean, let's be honest, they are still pretty accessible, but having the difference between a T rating and a 15 or an 18 or whatever the difference ratings are in the UK, I don't know what T is, that like PG-12 or something like that?
Maybe. The age ratings over in America are so weird. Like,
yeah.
It's not as straightforward as it is over here.
Yeah. So I will assume it's a 12 rating. A 12 is much more accessible, or a 12A or whatever. I mean, I know this video games is different from films and stuff and so on, but just go with it. Just go with it. So a 12 rating versus a 15 to 18 or whatever rating. The higher that number is, the more people are cut out of it. The more people cut out of it, the less potential for profits. So they are having to cut out the content to make sure that they're within that. So they are doing what is effectively right to make sure that they can reach people, to make sure that the game has a good sell-through, to enable them to make more games in future. They are they're creating a game that can be played by the masses. And this article almost points the finger at them with a bit of a negative hint, as in, like, how dare you make a game that kids can't play, that kids can play, but it's not gory. I mean, maybe it's not, but that's the way I kind of picked up on it. It's like, in an attempt to reach a wider audience and hoping to receive a T rating, which it did, but only after a bit of back and forth. And I just feel like an attempt to reach a wider audience. They're trying to stay sustainable. So yes, we would like to see Mick Foley thrown off of a Hell in a Cell onto a table with tacks on the table, if needs be. Yes, please. Maybe pedigree him off the top of the Hell in a Cell onto a table with tacks in him. Whatever. We'd like to see. I mean, fucking holy shit. Yeah. Yes, please. Give me some of that. But I'm also not 12 years old, and it's a different world for a 12-year-old than me, a man a little bit older than that, let's just say. So I can't really blame them. They made a game, and I think the fact that you can see what they had, we are being told what they had originally, shows that this is a compromise that they're having to make, not necessarily one that they wanted to make, just because of natural societal reasons. So pointing the finger at them for having to, think about society is probably not the best way of doing it for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, fair dues. I mean, AEW Fight Forever earlier let you make I think that should have said previously. So AEW Fight Forever previously let you make the ring a murder scene, says Kemi Omega. Earlier and previously, someone's just used the synonym thing there, haven't they? Because that's Joey and Friends. Previously, earlier, that's different. Let's go for that. I've definitely not been copying someone else's homework. Nice. So yeah, it could be a good game. Some initial looks at the first trailers are that there's not lots of blood in it and so on. But does that matter that much? If the game carries the physics and allows you to feel like you're smashing someone onto the floor and there's no like the ropes aren't just wobbling off into the fucking distance like we've seen on previous games. I'm looking at you, 2K. You know we love you, but still, we're not going to let you get away for free. If the game works supremely well, does only having a few specks of blood versus an absolute like gusher, does that really matter that much? I mean, first blood match maybe, but beyond that, nah. I mean, want violence? Watch Oz on HBO. Was it you that was on about that recently, Tito? And put that in the Discord. Do me a favor, please. Put that in the Discord somewhere. Tag me, and I'll remember to look it up when I get off stream because we just watched Clarkson's Farm and stuff last week. We're kind of between things. We're debating what to jump onto. So I do have an opening. So yeah, love you. Their probs got rid of the barbed wire ropes and explosives match after the failure of AEW's attempts in real life. I mean, if a couple of splats of blood on the floor, bombs and barbed wires, probably not the best for a 12 rating game. I mean, Fortnite had to get rid of blood and just make people turn into like an electronic, and then all the guns and stuff flop on the floor. So bombs and barbed wire, yeah, probably not. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to put a pin in things, but before we do, I'm going to quickly fly through this because you'll have seen it in a bunch of places by now. But PUBG patch 22.1 is here for PC players and bear lovers. Something to bear in mind, says Vikki Blake at Eurogamer. Nice. PUBG Battlegrounds patch 22.1 is here for PC players, and as well as ushering in a number of fixes and quality of life improvements, it's bringing something else too. Bears. That's right. Just as we're recovering from the Grizzlies in Elden Ring, PUBG Battlegrounds publisher Krafton is welcoming a lumbering pack of malice too. Polar bears. Nice. Bears have moved on to Vikendi's icy battlegrounds, but they're sheltering from the blizzard and hibernating for winter. The team teasers players can invade their caves for valuable loot, but we all know what happens when you poke a sleeping bear. End quote. Whilst bears can be killed, they can easily kill you too and will attack unprovoked if you get too close. New signs should give you an indication if you're straying into their territory, but only in Vikendi for now. Moonlight mode also makes a return to Vikendi 2, and Destin is back in regular rotation, although at the expense of Tego. Nice. Which is taking some time off. I mean, shout out to Destin, who, Destin made the first Royal Rumble happen. Vikendi made the second one. So let's go, maps. Let's go. Don't mon for long, though. The team has plans to reduce the time between map rotations later this year. Oh, and there's an all-new 4x thermal scope on the way as well, making it perfect for spotting targets in Vikendi's Dark Nightscape and Whiteout Blizzards. It'll be a world spawn item, so keep an eye out. And finally, don't forget that it's a fresh ranked season. Okay, we're not bothered about ranked on this channel, but okay, there you go. If you are, nice. So there is a bear in PUBG, plus a bunch of other quality of life stuff. If you want to see a lot of that stuff, we do stream PUBG on this channel pretty often. We do stream it on console though, so we'll get it in a couple of weeks' time, whereas it's live on PC right now. A bunch of the console guys will have jumped in and played it. The only thing I'm disappointed about with this, I'm not going to tell you how good it is or whatever, I'm going to talk about disappointment. The thing I'm disappointed with is that a few weeks ago, we had the PUBG Royal Rumble Reborn, and we got the Blizzard zones in there. It was just too soon for the polar bears, though. I'd have loved to have seen a team just being ripped to shreds by a rabid polar bear. Ooh.
That would be amazing.
Oh, do you know what? We'll have to just do another rumble again then, eh? Just
Why the hell not?
Just make it be fists only and then throw in 7 polar bears. Like, go! Go! So there you go. Yeah, PUBG Battlegrounds patch 22.1 is live for PC players and bear lovers alike. If you want it, do feel free to try it. Nice. For now, we are going to wrap things up. Benny Digital, welcome in, dude. How are you doing? Hey. Good afternoon. You got here just in time to go and raid one of our friends because that's what good people do. Pass on the love. Yeah. Their probs got rid of... Oh, no, I've done that one. In real life, at the end of the match, they wanted a Hollywood-like explosion that looked like the ring went up in flames, but what they got was basically ring post sparklers. Even Kane's pyro was better. Lol.
Yeah.
So what's that? That's the big explosion. All right, it sounds great. Nice. Oh, good. So yes, the week ahead, let me give you a couple of updates. So this weekend, despite me kicking him off the channel on Sunday, Bibby hasn't taken it personally. He will be back this weekend.
I will.
Oh, we're going to say, fuck this guy. But no. I won't be. Bibby's going to stream on Saturday and Sunday this week. Sucker! That's not true, by the way. I will be playing games on Wednesday. We will be doing some chasing crates with mates. If you missed it last week, we did chasing core rates with mates. We jumped in with the Code Red boys. This week, we will back to normal. Maybe core rates might be back next week. We'll see. Who knows? It's a semi-regular thing that we're probably going to build into something a little bit more scheduled. For now, though, it will be chasing crates with mates on Wednesday. And then, again, on Saturday, and Bibby will be jumping in with some... Have we decided? Is it a surprise? Do we know what we're doing on Sunday?
Not quite yet. It's not going to be a stream shuffle, but there is actually a load of things that I want to talk about in terms of what I've managed to achieve with my Xbox Series S over the last couple of weeks and all the little tweaking I've done. So if you like old retro games, which I know you guys do because you come in your droves to watch me play them and listen to me drone on about them, we may have found a way to actually get achievements in PlayStation 1 games.
Woo!
Yeah,
Spicy
so we're going to go back through and play some of those because they don't usually take that long to complete, do they? So we might end up getting through a couple of those. I'll show you how it all works. I'll show you the webpage where you can add me as a friend if you want to do the same thing, and we can go and try and complete some of these tasks together. But yeah, that's something that we'll go through on Sunday.
I do actually have a question. Although I'm going to ask it, yeah. Don't answer it because you can talk about that on your stream on the weekend. So so Baby's found a way to get achievements in retro games. Like if you're playing your Xbox 360, your Xbox One, your PS, whatever, you get little trophies and achievements that pop up. Boop. Okay, you've just done this. Those are basically third-party achievements. Does that mean anyone can make achievements? Could we make some of our own achievements and stuff? I don't know. You don't need to answer the question. You don't need to answer the question. I mean, just one to think about. Before any of that question stuff gets answered, though, Mr. Bibb, is there all else that you'd like to add?
There is, Graham. Thank you very much for joining us for today's episode of The Scoop, ladies and gentlemen. We very much appreciate all your subs, your follows. Everything is greatly appreciated, but if you want to help shape the 4 remaining shows this week, there is 2 ways you can do so. First of all, find us on social media. It is at Ice Cream Uploads across all major social media platforms, or alternatively, get involved with our Discord. All we need from you is the URL plus your thoughts and impressions. We will then give you our thoughts and impressions on the very next show, which will be at what time tomorrow? Mr. Graham Day.
Just like today, that will be at exactly 10 a.m.
With a match.
Ish. We do work in the video games industry. We do have lots of video game stuff that happens, and the streams are on the side of that. So we aim for 10 a.m. Sometimes it's closer, sometimes it's a bit further away, like today. But it is what it is. The best way to follow, the best way to get notified is to drop a follow on the channel. Follow us on Twitter or Insta. That way you will see our go live messages, or you can just follow us on Twitch and have your notifications on. That way you get notified as soon as we go live. Nice. For now, though, stick around. We will drop some lovely raidage on one of our friends because it's nice to pass on the love. From us, though, have yourselves a beautiful day. We'll see you 10 a.m. ish tomorrow. Until then,
stay frosty.